It is never too late to transform your life, even when change comes from the most unexpected places, like the middle of the Gobi Desert. In this episode of Let's Find Out, the Arapahoe Libraries podcast, we hear from best-selling author Dion Leonard. He shares how a chance encounter with a dog in the Gobi Desert led him to transform his life.
My life changed forever from that moment onwards. It makes me a better person, a kinder person as well. Maybe to forgive and forget a little bit about things that have happened in the past and move on from those moments as well. You can't keep carrying around things like that forever as well. So, yeah, she has brought a lot of happiness and joy to my life. And I think she's a bit of an angel in dog clothes sometimes.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Let's Find Out, Arapahoe Libraries podcast. Hear from authors, experts, and opinion leaders to spark ideas, solve problems, and enrich your life. In Arapahoe Libraries, we turn every search for knowledge into a helpful adventure. Dion, you've said your lifestyle was leading you to an early grave. Was there a particular moment, or maybe it was a series of moments, that made you decide, okay, I need to change my life?
Well, it's a great question. I really was. I was 220 pounds. I was a pack-a-day smoker, a very heavy drinker. And life was really leading me down to that early grave, as you mentioned. And I wasn't sure, I was a really super fit kid when I was younger, but I wasn't into my 20s and 30s, got lazy, was having other things going on in my life. And I guess started to take this different route. And I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get out of that mold as well. So I'd gone down this sort of rabbit hole and I was sort of desperate to get out of it. I knew inside my mind that I needed to get out of this state, but it was really hard for me to sort of break some of those vices. So it all really came about in a really sort of mad way as to how I got into ultra running and into running in general. And I guess that sort of is part of the steps forward as to changing my life as well.
Most people, frankly, don't go from smoking and drinking. And I remember reading in the book, I love hanging out on the couch watching TV. Most folks don't go from that to the world's top, one of the world's top ultra runners. What role did extreme endurance play in this whole healing process for you?
Well, getting into ultramarathons really wasn't the goal. I first started running actually as a drunken bet between a friend and I as to who could run a half marathon the fastest. And at this point, I was actually still a really big guy, heavy drinker and completely unfit, couldn't run for a bus, let alone running half marathon, 13.1 miles. And at my friend's party one night, he was telling everyone about how he was going to go and run this half marathon race. He'd run it the year before. He'd been training hard, wanted to go back and beat his own time. Then I was listening into this and I'd had a few adult beverages and I was thinking to myself, well, I think I could run 13.1 miles too. And I made the bet with my friend and he laughed, and everyone that was listening to us have this conversation about who could run the fastest of this half marathon distance started to laugh. And I remember waking up the next day a little bit hungover from the night before and a little bit dusty. And I was thinking to myself, I made that silly bet with my friend Dan as to who could run this half marathon the fastest. I thought to myself, I wonder how far I can run. So I tried to run around the block and it was a disaster. Out of breath, completely out of shape, of course, struggled to get around the block. And I realized then that that's when I was really out of shape, like as we spoke about just briefly before, leading myself into that early grave. This was a real motivation for me to want to beat my friend, to show him that I could run this half marathon distance, that I kept training. And it would be about 4 months until race day. And during that time, I lost a lot of weight, gave up the cigarettes and the drink and became fit. And when I got to the race day, my friend Dan sees me for the first time and we're running this race together. And he realizes, I'm actually super fit and, it's going to be a race to the end now. I do a time of 1 hour 28. I beat my friend Dan and it was great because now as a loser of the bet, he had to take me and my wife, Lucia, out to this expensive restaurant. So that was awesome. But really, inside me, I felt good for the first time in a long time. So sometimes I even struggle to think when the last time was I felt good about myself. And this race, when I crossed the finish line with that sense of achievement, really made that happen for me. So if it hadn't been for that silly drunken bet with my friend Dan, I'd never have gone from there straight into ultra marathons and running 100-mile races, 150-mile races, 200-mile races all around the world in the most extreme conditions. And that changed my life forever and changed me as a person as well. So, Dan likes to take a lot of credit for this, as does my wife, Lucia, too. She pushes me along the way as well.
You mentioned the conditions. You've raced in some very harsh places on earth. When reading the book, you talk about the sand, the heat, the cold, the wind, the rain, the elevation gain. It seems exhausting. What draws you to ultra challenges in such extreme, inhospitable environments?
And they are exhausting. Sometimes I think to myself, I should just be on the beach in Mexico, chilling, having a nice drink and going for a swim and relaxing. But those things are a little bit sort of superficial, I guess, in my mind. Like if I go out to one of these races, I'm usually running in a really unique part of the world somewhere. I'm out there for anywhere up to a week or so in length, and I'm experiencing a place that is beautiful in its own way. And here I am pushing myself to the limits beyond anything that I could get in day-to-day life. And it just fills me with this kind of enrichment that I can't get on the beach in Mexico, as great as that is as well. And so I sort of searched for that, and then I found that, and then I found like I wanted to do this again and again and again. And of course, there's amazing races all around the world that's where it's taken me. And I've been blessed to be able to go and experience some of these things that you don't see just going to the desert if you're a tourist in a Jeep. We go into some pretty remote areas, as you mentioned.
Yeah. So during one of those races, 155-mile ultra through the Gobi Desert, you meet a little dog. So what happened that day that made you realize, all right, this is not just a random encounter?
Yeah, so this was a 6-stage, 7-day race, 155 miles, as you say, across the Gobi Desert in China. And what makes this race even more difficult is you have to carry on your back all of your food and kit to survive the week as well. The only thing that you get for the whole 7 days is water at checkpoints along the way. Now, if you run out of water, you run out of food, you're in the middle of nowhere in the Gobi, it's critical, right? I'm out there in 2016 trying to win this race. And on day 2 of the race, I actually am at the start line when I look down, just about ready to set off to start the race, and I see a little dog chewing on my shoes. Now, I'm dressed in sort of sponsored clothes at the time, which were bright yellow sort of shirt, black shorts, and bright yellow sort of shoe covers. She's chewing on my shoe covers, and that stops the sand from getting in your feet. So it's a critical part of your equipment when you're in the desert. I look down, she's got sharp teeth, so I sort of flick her off with my foot. She jumps back on, shoes on them again. I flick her off again, tell her to scram, and then I'm thinking, like, where's this dog come from? Whose dog is this? She jumps back on, starts chewing again, and then the gun goes off, and all the runners now are running down the trail, and I'm stuck with this pesky dog attached to my leg. So day 2, I thought she was a real pest, and I really didn't think this little dog and I were going to ever become friends, and certainly we're never going to change our life forever meeting this dog in this desert race.
So here you are in the Gobi Desert. You're pushing your body to the limit. Yet you did make some space for this little dog. How did that bond develop right there on the course while you're in the middle of a race?
Well, she's cute, and I've got her here if you want to have a quick look at Gobi.
Oh, let's do. Yeah, for those watching on video, let's see Gobi the Wonder Dog here, named after the race there in the Gobi Desert.
So here she is. She's been sleeping on the couch, but she's my cute little companion. And that's the thing. Like, she's chewing my shoes on day 2, and I thought she was a little pest. But I did sort of think to myself, she's a cute little dog. And then we ran all of day 2 together, 25 miles in the Gobi Desert. She ran behind me, stayed with me side by side. And then into day 3, at one point, I have to cross this large river crossing, and I'm just about to take the first place position. So first and second are in front of me in the river, crossing through it. I'm just behind them. I'm really running well. I'm about to take the lead. And as I'm in the middle of this water crossing, behind me, I hear barking, yelping, and whining. And it's Gobi, of course, worried that if she goes into the water, it's rushing so fast, she's going to get washed away, she's going to drown, she's going to die. So now I'm there left like thinking, what am I going to do? Do I take the lead of the race? Do I go back and help the dog? And in an instant, I find myself going back to help the little dog. And it goes against everything I'm there to do. Like I said before, I'm a sponsored athlete. I'm there to win. Like, it's not in my mind to go and help this dog as much as I love animals. But here I am going back to get her. And when I pick her up and put her in my arms, it's the moment I realize, maybe I'm meant to be friends with this dog forever. So, little did we know just where that moment would take us both.
Absolutely. So you take this story, you make it into a memoir, a book. There's even a children's book about Finding Gobi. And now I understand there's a movie in the works. Is that right?
There is. I mean, the unprecedented coverage of Gobi and I finishing the race just created this tidal wave of interest in the story, in Gobi's story, in my story, how we came together in one of the world's toughest races. And I got this opportunity to write the book Finding Gobi, and now it's like 6 different books, and I get to travel all around the world, and including being here in the United States for the last 6 years, sharing the story and traveling with my pal Gobi and my wife as well, sharing the story. So it's just been a phenomenal journey, and I'm really so proud of just how beautiful this story is, and love sharing it with people as well.
Because it's very, it is a personal story and a life-changing experience for you. And here you are sharing it with everyone. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. And it's been a journey. And when I got the opportunity to write the book, it there was many different sort of flashbacks of in the book as to my early life and just where life has taken me. And I had a very difficult, depressive, destructive childhood. And my grade 7 teacher in Australia actually told me that the next place he thought he would see me would be in prison. So, my life was really difficult in my early years. I left home at an early age. I worked in a meat factory for 3 years when I'm 18, 19, 20. And if you'd have told me during those struggles, later on in life, I'd be this New York Times best-selling author and have this amazing story with Gobi the dog, I'd never, ever believed it. And for me, that's one of the things that I really love sharing about the story, is giving people the hope and inspiration for their own journey as well.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because, it is a story about transformation. I mean, you're going from trauma and addiction to real meaning and connection. So what would you say to people who feel kind of stuck in their own darkness?
And it can be extremely difficult to get out of that. And sometimes I think of it like an ultramarathon race. So some of these races, they're like a roller coaster of emotions. And these races, as I said before, could be 100, 200 miles. I could be out there for days and days and days. And I could be at the bottom of everything in this race. Nothing's going to plan. I feel terrible. I'm questioning why I'm even doing this. And then I can go another mile or 2 miles or 10 miles further down the track, and suddenly you'd be feeling good again and being, riding the crest of the wave towards the finish line perhaps. And it reminds me a little bit of life. It really is a roller coaster ride of ups and downs and high points and low points. And really getting through the low points is tough. There's no doubting that. But when you're getting back up to the highs, life's great. Life really is. And I think we just have to remember that the tough times are worth it in the end. They don't always last. And you'll come out the other side as well.
What's the biggest lesson Gobi taught you?
To be kind, to forgive. And I think also sometimes you've got to look back to move forward as well. And that was certainly the case on day 3 when I look back and see the dog running up and down the side of the water, carry her across the water. My life changed forever from that moment onwards. It makes me a better person, a kinder person as well. Maybe to forgive and forget a little bit about things that have happened in the past and move on from those moments as well. You can't keep carrying around things like that forever as well. So, yeah, she has brought a lot of happiness and joy to my life. And I think she's a bit of an angel in dog clothes sometimes.
What's on the horizon for you and for Gobi? You still racing? Are there more books to come?
I am still racing. I'm going back to the Gobi Desert actually this October to run a 250-mile non-stop race across the desert this time. And this race is completely different from the 7-day race where you stop every night. This race is 250 miles non-stop through the desert, self-navigated, self-supported. It's going to be an extreme challenge. So I'm looking forward to going back to the Gobi Desert. I've been back a few times now, and it kind of feels like my second home. I love going to China, and I love sort of Gobi's so popular there. They love her story as well. So it's great to be back for that. Gobi's actually retired from long distance running. She's just turned 11. She had her 11th birthday in June 20. And she still loves an adventure, though. We're here in Lake Tahoe at the moment. She likes to go swimming in the lake. She likes to chase the bears even. And she still loves living life to the fullest. But, yeah, she's given up the ultra running as well.
She's retired. She deserves it. Yeah,
she does. And we do visit libraries, schools, and we do corporate events sharing our story. And she gets so excited to meet people. And I think she was just born for this other role in life as well. And people connect with the story on so many different ways, whether it's my story or the story of Gobi the dog, or whether it's the drama and intrigue and mystery of when Gobi went missing in China for 6 weeks and we set up a search and volunteer team to find her. The story has got so many different layers and levels on it that, yeah, it's been a blessing to sort of be out there and share it.
Lots of twists and turns in the book. I won't give them away for those that haven't read the book, so you need to check out Finding Gobi. All right, let's try some rapid fire questions. You up for it?
Let's do it.
All right. Hardest race you've ever completed?
Well, there's so many, but one that sticks out in particular is the Hurt 100 miles in Hawaii, up out of Waikiki in the jungle there. 5 laps of 20 miles, hot, humid jungle, roots everywhere, terribly tough race. And I went out there in 2017 to run the race, and it was extremely difficult. And during that race, we actually received alerts on our phone telling us that it was an incoming ballistic missile. And it was like a warning to us. And we all thought as we were running this race, we're going to die. And they said, take cover, go to a bunker. I don't know if you remember the story, but it was actually set off by mistake by someone who was watching all of the satellite systems around the world. Anyway, we're out there running this race, which is tough enough on its own. And now we're all panicking for our lives. Everyone starts to run back to the last checkpoint that we just left because they're like, oh, we've got to get to the bunker. My wife was actually at the next checkpoint waiting for me to give me some cold drinks. So I thought to myself, well, I'll just keep running to the next checkpoint. And hey, look, if I win the race as well, if everyone's behind me, then even better. So, yeah, it was an incredible race. Like that was mind-blowing in itself. But the rest of the race, I was brutal on my legs and my feet. Never again. I finished. That was it.
This sounds like a scene out of a James Bond movie there.
It really was incredible.
Really. What's Gobi's quirkiest habit?
Probably chewing shoes. She still chews shoes like she did on day 2. She doesn't chew my shoes anymore, though. She chews my wife's shoes. So maybe my wife's got smelly feet. I like to joke. She ties them in double knots as well. And she has this incredible knack as you're walking along to just come along and start undoing them both as well. So, yeah, that's been her quirky habit forever. I think that's going to stick. Yeah.
What's one thing that running has taught you that corporate life never could?
Wow. Resilience, grit, consistency. And I think, there is challenges and pressures in the workplace, but nothing in terms of how much is on your own shoulders when you're doing an ultra marathon. In the workplace, there's teams, there's environments, there's usually external excuses or other parts or other elements that you aren't always in control of. In an ultramarathon race, you're really in control of yourself and you're pushing your limits like nothing else. So, when you get back into the corporate place, sometimes I've been back in work thinking, you know what, I've been through some pretty tough times. I think I can get through this meeting, or I think we can push forward on this and really back ourselves a little bit more than we perhaps do.
Is there a book that inspired you?
I really love the Cliff Young story. And Cliff Young was an Australian who was 61 years old. And in 1983, he ran 500 miles from Sydney to Melbourne in a race. And he'd never run a race of that distance before. And he was a sheep and potato farmer. And he used to run around his farm in the middle of nowhere in South Australia and in gumboots. So he'd be out for days and days and days. He was quite a poor farmer. And he heard of this race, the Sydney to Melbourne race. There was going to be $10,000 prize money. And they were so broke. But he thought to himself, you know what? I think I could do this. I spend days and days and days bringing the sheep in when the thunderstorms come in. This wouldn't be too difficult for me. He gets to the start line. Everyone looks at him and thinks, who's this old guy? He's 61 years old. There's no way he can finish this. The race organizers even tried to sort of tell him not to do it. They were embarrassed a bit that he was there. The race goes off. Everyone starts running down the trail, right? Running down the road. And all the fancied runners that had come from around the world to run this race started to fly off. Cliff's at the back of the race, but he's just got this motion of like running like a turtle, I guess, but slow, smooth, consistent. And he just keeps running. He just keeps running. And he gets into the first night and he just keeps running. He just keeps running. And he keeps running throughout the night. By the morning time, the next day, it turns out that Cliff's in the lead of the race. He didn't know that you were actually supposed to sleep along the way. Like the top runners would stop for 2 or 3 hours, get some sleep, get the rest. Well, as they were sleeping in the vans and the trucks and everything that were parked aside, Cliff had no idea. He'd never run this race before or anything like it. He runs through and now he's in the lead of the race. Fast forward to 500 miles, Cliff wins the race and he feels so bad about winning the race that he actually gave the winning prize money to the other professional ultramarathon runners there. So it's an amazing story of this guy that just had nothing, was a sheep farmer and became an Australian hero. So yeah, Cliff Young's story, if you ever get the chance to check it out, it's incredible. Yeah.
I remember you mentioning Cliff in your book, Finding Gobi. It's a great story.
It really sort of just epitomizes, right, us as people. Age wasn't an issue. Was all in the mind. And, that sort of gives us all that sort of hope that we can do whatever it is. We don't all have to go out and do ultramarathons. Please don't go and do that. But it's whether it's learning a language or doing something different in your life or taking on a new challenge. Life's there for the living and life's there for the taking too.
So Dion, where can listeners find Finding Gobi and follow your journey or even support the upcoming movie?
Yeah, everything is on at Finding Gobi. We're on findinggobi.com, Instagram, TikTok, all the social media channels, Facebook, of course. And we're also, if you're interested in following me as a runner, it's Dion Leonard Ultra Runner on Facebook as well.
Dion Leonard, thank you so much. And thank Gobi as well.
Thanks. She is the star of the show, but as you can see, she doesn't do too much work. She just looks the cuteness. Luckily for me, I guess, she can't talk or there'd be no need for me, that's for sure.
Thank you. Many thanks to Dion Leonard and Gobi for reminding us that the most unexpected friendships can change our lives forever. You can find all of Dion's books at findinggobi.com. Gobi, of course, spelled G-O-B-I. findinggobi.com. And you can always find new favorite stories at Arapahoe Libraries.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Let's Find Out, Arapahoe Libraries podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and visit us online at arapahoelibraries.org.